Welcome to Shatter.
Support the channel by liking, commenting, and subscribing. I promise even more interesting stories. She thought it was funny. That's what she told her friends as they burst into laughter at the dinner table, faces red from wine and secondhand cruelty. And all I could do was sit there, gripping my fork, while she told my job like it was the punchline to some inside joke. Can you believe he still delivers packages? She tilted her glass, like a high school kid with a van. They laughed harder. She laughed the loudest. She didn't look at me. Not once. And I didn't say a word. Because silence, when used right, doesn't mean surrender. It means strategy. I took another bite of my food. Chewed. Swallowed. Stared straight ahead like I hadn't just been humiliated in front of 4 of her college friends, the kind who wore overpriced smiles and judged men by LinkedIn titles. They weren't laughing at my job. They were laughing at what she thought it represented: smallness, simplicity, predictability. But what they didn't know, what she forgot, was that my job was temporary. The business I'd been building? Quietly, methodically, behind the scenes while she scrolled social media and posted aesthetic brunch pics? That business was real. Almost ready. Already profitable. She knew about it. She just never asked how far I'd gotten. Because to her, I was safe. The man who wouldn't outgrow her. The man who brought her stability and could be dismissed when convenient. But something cracked open that night. Not rage. Not jealousy. Clarity. The kind that settles in your chest like a cold wind when you finally stop pretending someone respects you. I drove her home in silence. She laughed once more in the car about something unrelated. I didn't respond. And for the first time, she noticed. "What's wrong?" she asked. I smiled, just slightly. Nothing. Because by then, the switch had flipped. The version of me that stayed quiet to keep the peace? Dead. She didn't know it yet, but that dinner party was her last laugh. Because from that moment forward, I wasn't her partner. I was her reckoning. And every little thing she took for granted? She was about to watch it disappear. The next morning, I made her coffee. Just like always. Just how she liked it. Oat milk. 1 sugar, extra hot. She smiled, kissed my cheek, and called me the best. Like the night before never happened. Like she hadn't just stripped me down in front of a room full of strangers for a cheap laugh. But I remembered. Every word. Every chuckle. Every glance she didn't give me while they mocked the life I'd worked to build. She thought I was over it. What she didn't realize was I wasn't angry. I was adjusting. I started waking up earlier. Not for work. For control. Each morning, I carved out time for myself, reviewing numbers, checking progress, polishing the launch of the business I hadn't told her was already functional. Not a dream. Not a maybe. A reality. She didn't notice. She was too busy documenting her outfits, captioning moments, rehearsing how perfect everything looked from the outside. And I let her. Because distractions make great cover. At first, I didn't pull away dramatically. Just small shifts. Stop texting her during the day. No more, "How's your meeting?" or "Need anything on my way home?" Stopped asking about her friends. Stopped pretending to care about the podcast she wouldn't shut up about. She barely reacted. She assumed I was just in one of those moods men get into: brooding, silent, internal. But the distance kept growing. I started staying later at the gym. Started meeting with people she didn't know. Investors. Partners. Quiet meetings over black coffee and shared vision. At dinner, I let her talk. Nodded. Smiled. But inside, I was miles away. She'd ask if I was okay. I'd say, just tired. She believed it. She wanted to believe it. Because the alternative that I had begun to detach would have shattered her illusion of control. I still did the dishes. Still paid the bills. Still kept her schedule on the fridge. But I was extracting myself, one action at a time. She once said I was the most reliable man she ever met. She said it like a compliment, but she used it like a leash. And now? Now the leash was off. She thought I'd always be there. Always show up. Always laugh at her jokes. But the shift had begun. And soon, the only thing she'd be able to count on was the silence I left in my place. I didn't need to raise my voice. I didn't need to slam doors. All I had to do was redirect. The version of me she mocked? That man was efficient, disciplined, structured, and now focused solely on his own future. I moved my schedule around, allocated more hours to the business, cut unnecessary errands, canceled her beauty box subscription, and paused the streaming accounts she never noticed were under my name. She texted me when the Netflix logged her out. "Hey, the password isn't working?" I didn't answer. That was the beginning. I split my accounts. pulled my name from her phone plan, set up two-factor authentication on everything, started tracking expenses more aggressively, hers, mine, ours. Not out of pettiness, just preparation. Every empire starts with infrastructure. Meanwhile, she got more affectionate. Not genuinely, performatively. She wanted to reset the dynamic, sensing something had changed but not knowing what or when or why. She kissed me longer in the mornings, cooked once or twice, wore the dress I used to like, said things like, "You're my rock," and "I don't know what I'd do without you." I said thank you, because every good exit starts with making sure they think you're staying. Behind the curtain, the business was scaling fast. Quiet revenue, clean brand, early traction. I had meetings lined up with 2 angel investors and a new developer. She never asked where I was on weekends anymore. She assumed I was delivering packages. Cute. What she didn't know was that I'd already filed paperwork to move everything, bank, ownership, taxes, into a trust. One she had no claim to. I wasn't leaving in anger. I wasn't even leaving yet. I was setting the stage, cleaning the exit, sharpening the silence. She still thought I was hers. Still posted couple selfies. Still told her friends we were so solid. She didn't realize she was tagging a man who no longer existed. Because while she was busy curating an image, I was busy removing her from the one place that mattered. My future. And the best part? She had no idea that the same job she laughed at was funding the freedom she wouldn't be part of. The first real crack showed on a Sunday morning. I was leaving the gym, sweating, calm, clear, when her name popped up on my phone. "Where are you?" Not in an affectionate way. Not curious. Tense. Tight. Panicked. I waited 15 minutes, then replied. "Running errands." No emoji. No heart. No follow-up. I could practically hear her confusion through the silence that followed. She'd spent so long assuming my life revolved around her that the idea of me having separate movements, private patterns, it unsettled her. That night, I came home late. She was on the couch, barefoot, arms crossed. "I tried calling you." I nodded. "I saw." Silence. "You're acting different lately." I shrugged. "Am I?" She narrowed her eyes. "Is there something going on?" I smiled, just barely. "I could ask you the same." She didn't know what to do with that. For the first time, she didn't have the upper hand in the conversation. The balance had shifted, and she felt it. The next few days, she shifted tactics. Woke up earlier. Made breakfast. Left me notes with little hearts at the bottom like we were still in year 1. Even wore lingerie to bed. I kissed her on the forehead and rolled over. No reaction became my reaction. And that did more damage than shouting ever could. She started spiraling in slow, subtle ways. Overspending. Random impulse buys. Subscription boxes she'd canceled reappeared. A new self-care retreat, booked for next month. I didn't argue. I just adjusted. Pulled more funds into my private account. Disconnected the auto pay on the card she used. Transferred the insurance policy out of her name. Quiet moves. Invisible lines. By the time she noticed, the bridge would already be ash. One night, we had dinner with another couple. One of her friends, the same type that laughed too loud and listened too little. And when the conversation turned to work, I watched her carefully. She didn't mock me this time. Didn't laugh. She just smiled and said, "He's always working on something." Something. She was afraid to define me now. Good. Because uncertainty is the beginning of fear. And when someone who thinks they own you starts to doubt what you're capable of, that's the moment you've already won half the war. The official launch happened on a Thursday. No press. No announcement. Just a switch flipped behind the scenes. And suddenly, what I'd been building in silence was live. Running. Generating. First order came in 12 minutes after. Then another. Then 3 more by noon. I didn't tell her. While she browsed home decor sites and asked if I liked velvet or linen for the throw pillows, I was finalizing vendor agreements and onboarding a remote assistant. While she posted a photo of her matcha latte with the caption, "Self-Care Day Green Heart," I was closing my first $6,000 week. She sat across from me at dinner, talking about a new reality show I'd never heard of. I nodded when I had to, smiled when it was expected, but I wasn't in that room anymore. I was 10 steps ahead, already living in a version of life she would never get to touch. That weekend, I met with 2 early-stage investors. We shook hands in a small co-working space downtown, the same place she once said felt beneath her vibe. I brought mock-ups, showed performance charts, took questions she didn't even know how to ask. When I walked out, One of them said, "You're not what I expected from a guy who started in delivery." I smiled. Most people underestimate the quiet ones. He laughed. Let them. Exactly. By Sunday, I had all the paperwork filed. The LLC was clean. The brand was registered. The Stripe account verified. I changed the passwords on everything. Then I rewrote my will. Everything that had my name on it would now go to my parents. Not her. Not the woman who once turned me into a joke between sips of rose. I took back control of every piece she used to hold. Credit cards, car titles, utilities. One by one, I transferred them, closed them, shut them down. She didn't even notice. Not yet. She thought we were fine, maybe even recovering. She started making comments like, "We've been really good lately." And, "I think we're back in sync again." Cute. Let her believe it. Let her plan her little weekends, her color schemes, her imaginary future. Because while she was fantasizing about how much I still loved her, I was finalizing a lease for my own apartment across town. 1 bedroom, brick walls, high ceilings, clean slate. And she wasn't on the lease. She wasn't even on the emergency contact. Because I didn't need a partner. I needed peace. And she'd already laughed herself out of that role a long time ago. It started with little things. I stopped answering texts right away. Left them on read. No excuses. No explanations. Just cold delivery. Exactly how she used to treat me when she felt too important to respond. She noticed. Started sending double messages. Then voice notes. "Hey, did you see my text? Babe? Everything okay?" I let them sit. When I came home, she'd study my face, searching for signs that I was still the version of me she knew. The man who always came home early, always brought flowers when she had a hard day, always asked about her skincare routine like it mattered. That man was gone. And what scared her wasn't my silence. It was the unfamiliarity. She didn't know how to read me anymore. Couldn't predict me. Couldn't control the emotional climate. And people like her, people who thrive on performance and reaction, crumble when the stage goes dark. She tried to reclaim the narrative. Started posting more. Photos of us. Old ones from better days. Captions like, "Still my favorite person." I didn't like or comment. She confronted me one night. "I feel like something's changed." I looked at her. Calm. Measured. "What do you mean?" She hesitated. That alone was telling. "I don't know. You're distant." I nodded. "I've just had a lot on my mind." Not a lie. Just not the whole truth. That was enough to rattle her. The next week, she asked if I wanted to plan a trip. "Just the two of us," she said, voice sweeter than usual. "We haven't gone anywhere in forever." I told her I'd think about it. I already had my ticket. One way. Quiet. Final. By now, she was studying me like a stranger. The same man she once rolled her eyes at. Now suddenly elusive. Mysterious. Cold. She started to fear what that meant. I saw it in the way she flinched when I didn't kiss her goodbye. In the way she lingered in doorways, hoping I'd say something that proved I was still hooked. But I wasn't. She had made me a joke. And now, I was erasing the punchline. Her panic came in waves, soft at first, then sharper. I overheard her on the phone with a friend. "I don't know what's wrong with him. It's like he's slipping away." He is. The man you laughed at? He's already gone. Now all that's left is the echo. And the echo never answers back. The move didn't happen all at once. It happened drawer by drawer, shirt by shirt. Little things disappearing. Not enough to notice on their own. But together, they left a shadow. I left the cologne she liked behind. The hoodie she always stole. Folded it neatly on the bed. The silence was surgical. Every item I packed was a decision. Every step out the door was one she couldn't trace. She was asleep the night I moved the last load. Soft breathing, wrapped in the same blanket she used to cocoon herself in after mocking me in front of her friends. I stood there for maybe 10 seconds, looking at her. Not out of nostalgia. Out of finality. This was the last time I'd ever see her like this. She just didn't know it yet. The next morning, she called my name. No answer. She walked through the house slowly. Opened the closet. Saw the empty hangers. Looked at the nightstand. No charger. No watch. No me. "Hello," she said louder. Still nothing. I watched from the hallway, just for a second. Long enough to see her start to crack. Her voice hitched when she said my name again. This time with an edge of panic. I walked out the front door, closed it behind me, and left the key under the doormat. She found it 30 minutes later. I know because she called. Twice. I didn't answer. She texted. "What's going on? Where are you? Why are you doing this?" I left them all unread. She tried showing up at my old routes. Even messaged one of my friends, asked if I was okay. He sent me a screenshot. I told him not to reply. Because this wasn't abandonment. It was release. I didn't block her. That would have given her closure. I didn't ghost her. That would have made her the victim. I just evaporated. Quietly. Completely. Like I had never been hers to begin with. The silence ate her alive. I could see it in the messages that came days later. Longer. Desperate. Unraveling. Please just tell me what I did. We can fix this. I didn't mean to make you feel small. There it was. The moment of realization. That one joke. That one night. It wasn't funny anymore. And now, every room she walked into was too quiet. Every outfit she put on was missing a compliment. Every laugh she forced felt a little more hollow. She had wanted someone safe. What she got was someone gone. It didn't take long before people started asking questions. Friends. Family. Her followers. They noticed. The photos of us stopped. The stories dried up. Captions went from "my rock to hearts" to vague quotes about healing and trusting the journey. I didn't respond. Didn't correct her. Didn't confirm anything. That was the point. Let her explain it. Let her answer the DMs. Let her paint over the silence with whatever version made her look less abandoned. The thing about people like her, they're not afraid of losing someone. They're afraid of looking like they lost someone. And when no one could tag me anymore, when mutuals stopped seeing me at events, dinners, or in the background of carefully filtered brunch photos, they knew something was off. She tried to keep up appearances. Posted a selfie with a long caption about choosing peace. One of her friends commented, "Where's he been hiding? We miss him." No reply. Comment deleted the next day. I watched it all unfold from a distance. Not because I missed her. Because I wanted to witness the unraveling. Slow. Unstoppable. She made one final attempt to regain ground. Posted a throwback, one of us, on her story. No tag. No caption. Just a blurry sunset and my silhouette. A memory. I didn't acknowledge it. Didn't reach out. Didn't flinch. Instead, I posted a quiet announcement on my business page. Officially full-time. Thank you to everyone who supported the journey. No faces. No names. Just a brand. Clean, minimal, already scaling. The comments poured in. Old clients. New partners. Even people I hadn't heard from in years. All of them celebrating something she never believed would happen. She saw it. I know she did. A few hours later, she sent one last message. Proud of you. Really. I left it on read. No malice. No revenge. Just indifference. Because that's what stung the most. Not that I left. Not that I grew. But that I didn't need to say a single word while doing it. Her punishment wasn't public humiliation. It was public irrelevance. The man she laughed at had become someone she couldn't reach. And someone she couldn't stop watching. I wasn't planning to see her again. The silence had done its job. The exit was clean. My life was mine again. But life doesn't always play by the rules you write. It happened at a coffee shop. Middle of a Wednesday. I was taking a meeting with a new client, a woman who owned a string of wellness studios and wanted to scale digitally. I was explaining onboarding strategy when I felt a familiar pause, the way someone's eyes land on you and stay just long enough to make the air shift. I glanced up. She was standing in line, alone, holding her phone like a shield, eyes flicking between me and the cashier like maybe, if she moved fast enough, she could avoid what we both knew was coming. But I didn't move. I went back to my sentence, finished the explanation, answered a question, signed off. The meeting wrapped 10 minutes later. I stood, walked to the counter for a refill, and that's when she finally turned. "Hey," she said softly. I looked at her. Different. Not worse, just real. No filters. No curated poses. Just a tired woman with yesterday's makeup and a sweatshirt that didn't try to impress anyone. "Hey," I said. She blinked, like she wasn't expecting me to answer. Or maybe not that calmly. "You look good." "I am," I said. No venom. Just fact. She tried to smile. It didn't hold. "I've been meaning to reach out, but I figured." "You figured right." Silence. The kind that used to make her uncomfortable, because there was nothing for her to perform against. Then she asked the one question she hadn't asked in any of her messages. "Why didn't you say anything? That night. At dinner. Why didn't you tell me it bothered you?" I met her eyes. Because it didn't just bother me. It changed everything. Her shoulders dropped. "I was stupid," she said. I didn't disagree. I didn't mean to. "You did." I cut in. Calm. Cold. Final. "And I'm glad you did." Because I might have stayed if you hadn't. She inhaled slowly, like she wanted to say something that might fix it. But there was nothing left to fix. When I stepped past her, she turned slightly, like she wanted to follow. But I didn't look back. She'd had her stage. Now all she had was the silence echoing behind me. She never reached out again after that day in the coffee shop. No texts. No comments. Not even one of those subtle likes on old posts people send when they miss you but don't want to say it out loud. That was how I knew it was truly over. Because the silence wasn't just mine anymore. Now it belonged to both of us. I moved into my new place the following week. No drama. No nostalgia. Just new furniture, clean lines, and an apartment that didn't carry the ghost of anyone's ego but mine. And every time I walked past the mirror, I saw someone I hadn't seen in a long time. Not the man she wanted me to be, reliable, quiet, easy to joke about, but the man I actually was. Driven, calculated, untouchable. People like her think power comes from spotlight, from public attention, from who laughs at your jokes, who follows you, who claps when you speak. But real power is the ability to disappear. To subtract yourself from someone's world so completely that their only reminder of you is the hollow space you used to fill. She used to call me steady. Now she'd probably call me cold. And maybe she's right. But cold is what you become when you've spent years being stepped on in the name of joking. When you've been everyone's safe space. Except your own. I never told anyone about the night she laughed at my job. Didn't need to. The results spoke for themselves. My business doubled in 3 months. I signed 2 distribution deals. Hired a small team. Clients came from places I didn't even advertise. Word spread. Quiet excellence tends to do that. Meanwhile, I heard, through someone else, that she'd moved in with a friend. That the lease was in my name, and she couldn't keep it on her own. That she started going to therapy. That she doesn't post much anymore. Good. That silence she once used to control the room? Now it lives with her. Loud. Still. Constant. She thought the punchline was my job. But the real joke? Is that while she was laughing, I was building the life she'd spend the rest of hers wishing she hadn't laughed her way out of. What would you have done in my place? If the story hit you, leave a like. And don't forget to subscribe. It only gets stronger from here.